We're talking about being gospel-shaped. Being gospel-shaped. I remember years back, I was young adult pastor, youth pastor back then. Remember a young man moved into our community, and he started to attend our church, and you could see God was calling him and God was working on his heart. He had a lot of rough edges, but God was doing things in his... But he came to a situation where he had nowhere to stay, and he ran out of money, and he was far away from home, and this young man decided to ask for help, and one of the families in the church stepped up. He needed a place to stay for a few months. He couldn't even pay a dime in rent, couldn't pay any money for his board. A family in the church stepped up, and this young man was able to live in that with that family for those few months of that time. And as I remember reflecting with him over that period, and how's it going, and what are you doing, and he said, wow, it's great, the great family, they're feeding, everything's okay. But he said what shocked me and what surprised me and what's relevant today, he said what he was thankful the most was not for a roof over his head and not for food on the table. And then he opened up, he says, Pastor, I swore that I would never get married again, or not again, ever get married, because of the kind of marriage relationship that my parents have. No point. Is this what God is going to do? And they're Christians. This is what God is going to do. I don't want any of it. But he says, when I lived with this family and observed everything, I see love from God can be true and real. I'm a true believer in Christ yet again. And I'm a true believer in marriage yet again, because I saw what God can do. A husband and wife can have a gospel-shaped home. They can love one another and love their children and live for God. Can I tell you something? That embracing gospel-shaped relationships is, I don't know if it's the most powerful act of evangelism, but it's one of the most powerful acts of evangelism.